Okay, so it's March the 4th, and we're going to take a look at this colony, and we're going to actually look at 4 of the existing colonies we have today. And what we want to do is just check on their food stores. One mistake a lot of people make is they don't realize that bees can starve even with having a ton of honey frames in there over winter. And the reason is when you have a small cluster, they want to stay warm. They do not want to break that cluster to go out and climb over and go underneath around to the other frames to go get the food. So they will literally starve. So I see a lot of people posting pictures online about their bees with their heads stuck into the cells and they're dead. And that's usually an indicator of starvation. And they say, well, hello there. And they say, well, I had lots of honey frames in there, but they're all outside. So we've seen tons of bees starve out with food literally being an inch away. So what I like to do is I like to put either candy board up top or fondant patties on top right above them. So they literally just can climb right up a couple inches above them. They don't have to really break that cluster. And the whole cluster will actually move up to the top right underneath the food. So I gave them some food a couple weeks ago, and we're just going to check in and see how they're doing today. So it's only 4 degrees Celsius, and normally I wouldn't recommend going into your hives when it's this cold, but I want to make sure they don't starve. So we're going to get in there. I'm going to show you the setup I have here. And we're not going to actually look at any frames. We're just going to check their food supply. So let's get right in here. Got the lid on. I already took the strap off. Inside of my lid, I like to put some 1-inch rigid insulation right inside here like that. Okay, and then I have my quilt board here. And I like to put in a 3-inch piece of insulation here. And I like to wrap my colonies in 1-inch rigid insulation as well. So I'm just going to grab my hive tool. I'll be right back, and then we'll pop this out and take a peek. Let's just take a peek underneath this insulation here, see what we can find. Some people use shavings and stuff. I did that, but it got really messy. I might go back to doing that, but this is what I did this year, just anyways, to keep it super insulated for me. Probably put a little handle or something on there so it's easier to get out, but this way we'll be able to take a peek in there and see what they are up to. All right. One trick is to have a magnet in your pocket, and then you can actually just have your hive tool stick onto your clothes. That's handy. Okay, so inside here I have this little, what's it called, the burlap sack here, and this is just to catch some moisture as well. So we can actually peek right in here, check and see, and there you have it. You can see this cluster is literally right there. They are not touching any of this food out here. So all of this is basically untouched, and they are right here. So you can imagine if you have just frames of honey and they stick in this one corner, they'll eat all the food in that corner, and after that, like, they're going to starve. So they've getting through some of that pollen patty. They seem to have lots of extra food. So what I'll do once they eat this out, this section, is I'll just move some of these pieces and just plop them on top of them over there and bring the food a little closer to them. Okay, so I'm just going to lift my quilt box. This thing's not going to be on here for much longer. I'm going to switch over and get all the insulation off once the temperature reaches at least 10 or 12 degrees Celsius. So I don't wear my veil or gloves really in the summer or fall, but right now they're going to be cranky. As soon as I lift up this this quilt box, they're going to probably fly at my face, and maybe even my camera woman as well. So hopefully maybe I'll get her to step back a little bit while I do this, but I'm just going to move some of the food over on top of them here. All right, here we go. We'll just do it nice and gentle. Starting to fly. 1 or 2 there. Move some of this. I'm going to put it over where they are. The lighter colored stuff is fondant, and the darker stuff is fondant, and then the whiter stuff is the sugar board that I made. Hello. There we go. Now they're all starting to fly out because they're getting ticked off. So we're going to close this back up. We're going to be gentle when we put this down. We don't squish any of those bees there. Let's put that down. One bee got squished, so let's just let him out. There we go. Okay. They will figure that out. Good to go. So now we're going to put the insulation back in. little bee here. I'm just going to let them go back into the entrance. So this one's looking pretty good. I'm not going to get in there and mess with it. They're not quite ready to have their sugar water yet because it's just, I forgot to put this in, but not a big deal. This thing's coming off probably in a week. I'm just waiting for that temperature to warm up a little bit, and then we'll be feeding them 1-to-1 sugar water so they can get geared up to start raising their brood and stuff like that. So yeah, let's get into another one. Take a peek. All right, so this is colony number 2 that survived so far. These ratchet straps are the best. They're easy to get on and off. And if you get a bear attacking this thing, like, they'll knock it over, but they are not going to destroy your everything and kill them all. So let's take a peek at this colony here. No moisture issues. Just see what's going on under here. This one was stapled down. I'm going to rip it off. Look at that. So they're doing great in here. I'm just going to leave them alone. They got lots of food. They're eating, but see how they're all clustered in this one spot? They're not walking around. This is because the cluster is right below that. So not a huge colony in any of these hives so far. Queen's obviously down there hiding out, but they're doing pretty good. These quilt boxes are great because you can actually take a pollen patty, you can take a fondant patty, and you can just literally squish it right through the screen, and they'll eat at it. So this one's looking pretty good. Looking forward to giving them some sugar water maybe in a week or so here. We'll close that one up and keep them warm. They seem to be happy. Let's keep it that way. Okay, let's check out colony number 3. We're actually going to be naming these soon. They say not to name your queens because you'll get attached to them and you get sad when they die or when you have to kill them. And sometimes you need to kill them. This particular one, the quilt box is propolized though. It's stuck onto the lid. So actually when I lift this off, we're actually going to see the whole quilt board and underneath it. So let's be quick with this one. I could separate it, but this is just as easy. So how are we looking there? This is probably the best colony yet. We got lots of food. Just gonna bring some more on top for them here. They are eating really well. You can see how they like to stick to that area though. Camera woman might want to step back slightly because these bees they'll look for your open skin. They'll see your face. They'll find it. I can tell they're liking the fondant over the sugar. Not as hard and it's not as difficult for them to break down. So we'll just keep giving them food here, a little bit of pollen. This one's eaten like the entire pollen patty, so I'm going to be getting in here next week and giving them some more pollen. So let's put them away carefully. Blow on them a little. I don't want to squish them. I'm actually going to turn the box the other direction so that this ends up over in this area here. That way I don't squish them on some of this high stuff here. Lower it very slowly, give them a chance to find their space there. Okay, couple visitors here. So number 3, it's doing the best so far. It had the most bees, looks the strongest. And we're gonna also just check our bottom boards at the very end to see what kind of mites maybe have fallen. Not from treatment, but just from natural grooming that they've been doing. So take a look at number 4. This one was doing similar to 1 and 2 last time. So let's take a peek. Actually, no, this one actually was doing the best last time I checked. The weather's been absolutely ridiculous. It's like a war between summer and spring and winter that they can't decide what to do. We've had snow and then we've had warm days. And the bees get super confused. It's not good for them. Plus it kills all the plants and stuff. So I can hear them in here. They're doing pretty good. That's a nice cluster. Lots of food. Hear that sound they're making there? Kind of a bit of a squeak. So they've eaten most of their pollen patty here. I'm just going to let them be. Pardon the pun. I could move that around a little bit, but I think they're going to be pretty good. They're pretty strong. The cluster's not as small. If the cluster was smaller, I'd probably help them out a little more by moving the food closer to them, but they seem capable. We're supposed to see some temperature rises in the next few days. So I'm happy to let these bees have what they have, and that should be fine until next week, maybe even 2 weeks from now, at least 10 days. So yeah, so we're going to check the bottom boards next in a second. So for mite control, there's preventative things you can do, and then there's things you can do to actually kill the mites afterwards. So one of the things that I do to be preventative is a screened bottom board. And what I do is I have the bottom board has a screen on it, and then I have this board that slides in, and this board is covered in oil, coconut oil, avocado oil, whatever. Some people use Crisco, but I just really don't want a bunch of GMO junk in my hive. So I try to use some products that are decent, but this will show you what they're up to. Because if you see a bunch of wax cappings on here, you know that they're eating the honey, they're uncapping the honey. If they grew mites off each other, the mites will fall onto here and get stuck in the oil. That's why you oil it, so it sticks to them and stuff like that. I've never seen a hive beetle. I don't even know if we have them here on Vancouver Island, BC, but never seen one before. I've never had wax moth either. But now this bottom board actually got blown out in the wind, so I just put it back in this morning, so it's not going to have anything on it. But let's get into the other three and take a quick peek. All right, this is number 3 here. This bottom board's been in here for a bit. Let's take a quick peek. So you can see the lines from all the stuff falling between frames. So they've got, that's a bunch of wax. They've been uncapping. I'm just looking for mites here. I see one right there. These little red round things. They're not easy to see, but once you see them, here's one right here. You can see that. That's a mite. Okay. So that's just them grooming. So what I'll actually do with these is I'll just get my scraper. I'll just clean all this stuff off. Get the junk so it doesn't attract anything. And a lot of people, I see them just throw this on the ground right beside their hive. I think it's better to kind of dump this sludge, you know, at least 10 feet away or something, just so you don't attract the pests that come, that like to eat this kind of stuff. So just get rid of this, throw it in your garden, but just try to get it away from the hives a bit. So, and we'll go check out the next one here in a sec. Okay, colony number 2, let's take a peek. All right, some moisture. Look at the moisture in there. What is that from? I don't know, but this is the good thing about having a screen bottom board is all of that moisture is not in the hive. So I can see a lot of uncapped. This is probably honey where they have uncapped some of the frames, and there's clearly a lot of moisture in it. So not exactly sure what's going on there. We just had a snowstorm 2 days ago, so let's take a look and see if we can find any mites in here. I'm not really seeing any, so maybe one there. I can't really tell. So I'll just clean this up real quick, scrape it off, throw it in the garden. It's normal to see like mold and stuff just because of the moisture, the dead bees. It feeds all the mold. It will go away. When you have a nice day in the spring and you're ready to clean up, you can clean it all up. But the bees will take care of a lot of that themselves too. In nature, they have mold, they have bugs, they have death and disease and stuff, and they work through it. So looks like mushed up bananas. It's kind of weird. Either way, it's on here, not in there. I'll just dump that in the garden and be right back. Colony number 1, take a quick peek. Looks very similar, all uncapped. This tells you where they're hanging out. They're in that front corner. As we saw when we looked at this one, they were all clustered right here. So they are eating and hanging out in that front corner. That's where the sun is. If you look up, you can see that that's the closest corner to the sun. So they're trying to stay warm. And even with, now this might be a wax moth there. I'm not an expert in wax moths, but it's a moth. Here's some wax. What are the odds? There's a mite there. You'll see the mites under where they hang out. There's another one right there. So they're grooming each other. The mites fall and they die on the board. So clean this one up. And then there's something else I want to show you. It's going to be for another video down the road, but I want to give you guys a bit of a sneak peek about my next little project I'm doing. So just clean this up and then I'll take you guys over there. So what I want to show you guys is, so far in year 1, I started out with 1 colony. I split it to 4, and then I split 4 into 9, and then I lost quite a few. I only have 4 remaining, and I've gone with the Langstroth regular vertical hives. I've got 8 of them there. Then I had a nuke, but the ones that died, they were just too small. I should have probably squished the queens and combined them to make them stronger. They'd probably be alive. I could probably have 6 or 7 strong colonies here, but the next thing I want to do, that I want to show you guys, is horizontal hives. So I've got 2 here that I've kind of put into like this here. This one here is called a horizontal Langstroth, and that's because it uses the regular Langstroth frames that we use in these colonies here, in these hives here. But instead of stacking them vertically, putting boxes on top of boxes, they're all in a row. So I'll go over there and show you in a minute. This one here is called a top bar hive. It's also horizontal. It needs to be leveled. As you can see, it's sloped quite a bit. I just threw them over here in the middle of winter here, but I'll level those out later. But this one here, it doesn't use the regular frames. It uses a top bar, and they actually build off of it. So I'm going to go over there and show you guys a little bit about that. But I'll do another video down the road when I actually probably put some bees in there and get them set up. Okay, so here's my horizontal Langstroth hive. I'm actually super excited about this one because I have a terrible back, and a lot of beekeepers, they suffer from bad backs. Lifting those boxes, those deeps and those mediums, they can weigh 60 to 80 pounds when they're full of honey, and you got to lift them up for inspections. This way they're all side by side. You do not have to lift anything except this lid. So right now it's half empty. Here are the cover boards that we use. Okay, and I'll just show you guys, if you look underneath these, just want to come over here with the camera, you can see all these frames are just in here in a row. And this here, these allow for the bee, what we call bee space. So when the bees want to run around on top, they'll be able to. You wouldn't want to have it flat like that on top. They won't be able to get around. They'd have to go under or something. So this creates that bee space. So what you do is, on this particular hive, I'll just bring you around the side here. There's an entrance right here on the front, just a single entrance. It's currently partially blocked off with a little piece of bark there to reduce it. But what you do is you'll start this colony with a few frames of drawn comb. I'll probably do a split off of another colony where I go and I take a couple frames of brood, some nurse bees, get a queen over here, or maybe I just bring a frame of eggs over. And you're going to have a divider board. So over here, I'll show you what a divider board looks like. This one here is a divider board. So you want to put this at the end. So what I'll do is I'll put a few frames of whatever I'm going to put in, some drawn comb, maybe a few frames of honey, some pollen, some brood, some eggs, a queen. I'll probably have about 4 or 5 there, and I'll put this divider board in. And then as they work on those frames, I will give them another frame like this, and I'll put the divider board in here. And then as they build that frame out, I'll slide over another frame and I'll put the divider board in here. And you just keep moving the divider board down and putting more frames in, and eventually they'll build their nest right around near the entrance. They like their nest near the entrance, but then they'll start building out honey all the way along here. So when I come in to get some honey, I'll just be able to take 10 frames of honey, just take it out, leave them with 5 frames of honey. They'll just keep building, give them some more drawn comb frames, and they will just work it. I can even use this colony as a resource colony because you can't go too high. You're limited with space. To just draw out frames. So once all the honeycomb's all drawn out, all the wax is drawn out, I can take those and put them in other colonies. So I'm not going to bother putting this all back together right now because it doesn't really matter. But as you can see, this is a horizontal Langstroth. Room for insulation up here. We've got vents here. This particular one, the vents have been closed off with just this board. You can kind of see there's a vent there and vent there. So I am going to be putting a new roof on it. I've got it ready to go. I'm just waiting for some nicer weather. This just has an old beat up roof. Plus aesthetically, it's hideous. So I'm going to trim that up. I might even paint this box and clean it up. But yeah, you can throw a heavy duty lock on here. The bears don't stand a chance on these ones. So that's the horizontal Lang. Now this one here is the top bar hive. Now one thing I like about this particular one is it actually has a observation window, which is super cool because you can look and see what's going on with the bees. So I really like that. Here's a candy board I made. It's a fly in here. I've got some insulation up top, as you can see, but this is a candy board. So when I'm going into winter, what I do is I make these boards by pouring a mixture of sugar, water, some apple cider vinegar, and some essential oils, and that gives them some nutrients as well. And I just place this right on top. Now you want to put these holes in. That gives them the opportunity to start chewing away at it. Otherwise, they have a hard time getting at it. But once it starts warming up, they need the moisture to break it down. So some people just use regular sugar, granulated sugar. They pour it right on top of some newspaper. Some people use fondant patties. I use a combination of both. So I'll just move this out of the way, and then we'll get in here and take a look at this this horizontal top bar hive. Okay, so let's take a peek inside this one, see what we have here. So here's an example. Instead of having those frames that I just showed you, we actually just have this top bar, and you have it cut at an angle, and I'll usually put a bit of wax on there, and that will get them instinctively start drawing it out. So normally they just look like this, completely angled, I believe at a 45-degree angle there or something. Yeah, it looks like 45. And they'll start drawing that out. I'll show you some examples. They'll start doing this sort of thing. Okay, that's one that started. Here's one that started. Now, one thing you can't do is how you hold these frames when you're inspecting them. So when they're built up, they're going to have like a big, I don't know, trapezoid, I don't know geometrical shape that would be, but you have to hold them like this. You cannot tip it like this, especially in the summer. They'll start to bend. It'll be underweight. It'll be warm. So when you look at them, you can look at them like this. You can look at them like this, but you never want to tilt it this way or this way, because the other frames you pick up and you kind of literally look at them like that. You can't do it that way. So just be careful when you're doing your inspections. Here's a big comb that broke off. I can reattach that on by just melting it on. I can even elastic band it into some other frames as well. I might throw that one back in, or I might use it in another colony. But what I'll do, as you can see, I've got a divider board here, another one here, so we don't want it going any farther than that. And what we'll do is we'll have a few frames. I'm going to actually stick this into one of my other colonies to get them to build it out, and then I'm going to move them over here. And these will be some cheaters to get them started. I'll have a couple of these ones in here with some comb on there to get them started. You want somewhere for the queen to lay right away, so I might melt this one on and stick it back in there. Undecided. I'm waiting till it's time to split. I've got 4 empty colonies, empty hives over there, so I'd like to get those going first. But my splits will definitely be coming into these 2 boxes this year. You might ask, like, why all the different kinds? It's fun. Beekeeping is addictive too, by the way, if you don't know that already. And you just want to try new things. Experimentation's fun. It's just really cool to see. And beekeepers are like lawyers. If you ask 10 different beekeepers for their opinion, you'll get 10 different opinions. So you'll definitely hear opposing views on how to do things. But what you got to do is you got to keep track of one important factor is where you live. Geographical location matters. People that are in the south, Southern America. I'm gonna do it differently from people living in Saskatchewan. You know what I mean? So we'll just close this bad boy up. And I'm looking forward to coming back here when spring decides to show its head and bring some bees over here. So thanks for watching the video. If you liked it, feel free to like and subscribe. And I'm going to be putting out more content. I'm going to do some beekeeping stuff. This channel is just for fun. It's random. It's not a beekeeping channel. It's just a channel about different things I do, projects, fixing things around the house, working on things on the farm. So yeah, if you want to see more stuff and hang out, feel free to like and subscribe. All right, have yourself a good day.